Hey guys, welcome to Florida. Believe it or not, in all the Webeos I've been doing, none of them have involved the southeastern USA. So I figured out why not implement something I've not done in a while, admittedly, high-speed rail in a new area, Florida. Now Florida, as you may probably know, is a very flat state. In fact, the highest point is only like 356 feet above sea level. So elevation changes are not a problem here, and as you know, if you saw my other Webeos on high-speed rail, railways hate elevation changes, for example hills, mountains and valleys. Since Florida is a relatively flat state, very few tunnels and viaducts are required to construct such a route. In fact, the only environmental concern I see with this is the swamplands in the central eastern part of the state between St Augustine and Daytona. Now this is electrified high-speed rail, top speed of 350 kilometers per hour. It'll connect Jacksonville to Orlando to Miami. And when I mean these cities, I mean the center of the cities, not like what Amtrak does. It stops like 3 miles west of Jacksonville and like 6 miles west of Miami, and they call that Jacksonville and Miami respectively. I'm not happy with that. This is center city to center city to center city. Not to mention that direct Orlando to Miami doesn't exist yet, so this is a full direct route from Jacksonville, Orlando, Miami. The total route length is 358 miles, so expect this to be one of my longer Webeos if you want to know. I didn't time this yet, I'm timing this right now, but I think this will go at least 15-16 minutes. Travel time between Jacksonville and Miami will be around 2 hours, including a stop in Orlando on the ultra high speed, and probably around 2.5 hours on the regional high speed, which includes stops in all the other locations seen here. Let's get started. We are going to start in Jacksonville. Now Jacksonville is located on the existing Amtrak and freight lines, but it's like 2 miles east of the existing station. There's quite a bit of room for a station here. I don't know why they didn't use the space wisely. Maybe there were factories initially and the station place did not change after the abandonment of the factories in the 1970s and 1980s. But anyways, this would be a perfect place for a new station. It's close to Interstate 95, Interstate 10, Route 13, and the downtown Jacksonville area and its people mover. When leaving Jacksonville, the train will cross the existing bridge. I don't think it should be faster yet until it crosses Route 95. After that, the line will it'll share with freight tracks. And I think this should be triple track because I understand that freight need their own tracks as well. So I'm going to make this from a double line to triple line, electrify 2 of the railway tracks, and I'm going to also grade separate this. So this would be mutually sharing between the high-speed rail trains and the goods and freight trains. So I think this will be a great compromise between the two. So it'll continue through the southeastern Jacksonville suburbs at a speed of increasing to 300 kilometers per hour. This will become 3 tracks and it'll become grade separated. It'll roughly parallel Interstate 95. I'll zoom out so it becomes faster. There's nothing much that really occurs. It's parallel to Route 1 and Route 95. It actually goes a little east of Route 95 just before crossing Interstate 295, but you get the general idea. It's almost parallel the entire way with Route 1 until around 2 miles south of County Road 210. This is when the line deviates. Now before I describe it, I'll tell you why I did this. Because the existing line does go to St Augustine. The problem is the existing line has very sharp turns and goes through dense areas that were not worth trying to curve straight and build bridges or tunnel through right here. So instead, I decided to allow the station to go around 2 miles west of the downtown area. It's still really reasonably drivable from the center area, not to mention the noise may even be reduced from central St Augustine, but it'll reduce the amount of homes that'll be needed to destroy. So it'll exit Route 1 go on more southerly alignment before going more southeast, and on the Charles Unisas Memorial Highway, that's where St. Augustine will be. It's also known as Florida Route 16, and it's near an Interstate 95 interchange as well. And this is one of the main roads of St. Augustine. That's why I chose this area for this station. Oh yeah, by the way, this is a regional high-speed stop. So if you remember my other Webeos, I've express high speed and regional high speed. Express high speed only stops at the main areas to save time. Regional high speed serves more communities. And I think serving a lot of communities is one of the keys of success of high speed rail. Not having people to drive 30, 40, 50, 60, 90, 100 miles to reach the nearest high speed rail station. This is how it's done. So after St. Augustine, it'll curve to the west and actually cross Route 95 before going south again. And it'll then continue south around 2 miles west of the existing alignment of Interstate 95. However, just east of Espanola, this is where the first major viaduct will be. This is all a major swamp area, and I felt that a viaduct would be required to go over these two lakes here. So that's what that's for. So after that, it continues on its existing ground alignment, grade separated of course, crosses Route 40, and it enters the Daytona area, and I'm having to stop here. It may seem in the middle of the nowhere land. Don't worry. I am going to propose a road if this is built. This is not going to be in the middle of nowhere. If there is a road, it should connect somewhere to the vicinity of the interchange of Route 4 and Route 95. Daytona metropolitan area has a population of around 250,000 people. So I think connecting them the 2 miles to the station is well worth the money required to build a roadway. I couldn't make it go further east as a line curves too much, too many grade crossings, and it would be too expensive to tunnel underneath it relative to what demand would be required. Not to mention that curving it to Orlando wouldn't make sense to go all the way east to go west again, because this line's next stop is the Orlando area. So after that, the line curves west and actually goes onto the median of Interstate 4. Now Interstate 4 has a decently sized median. Most times it's at least 25 to 30 feet wide. In instances where the median's not wide enough, the outside areas of the road, like the lanes, could be spaced apart a bit to allow the insertion of the high-speed rail line. Though I think this is the best way to incorporate it without blinding the landscape and suburbia with brand new concrete, because that would not really be attractive. It would be what is known as a NIMBY, or never in my own backyard. So yeah, that's why I'm building it in the center. So all that would really need to do is, in certain cases, make the median wider and also replace the bridges so that the pillars of it are not in the center of the railway line. So it will continue down on Interstate 4 as it enters Seminole County right here, and just after that, the station is Sanford. Sanford is the primary northern part of the Orlando metropolitan area, and again, this is a regional stop like Daytona and St. Augustine. I don't want all these people to have to drive 50 or more miles to their nearest station or the most convenient station for them. So I'm providing a regional stop at Sanford. After that, the line will continue along the median of Interstate 4 at its full speed. There's a small viaduct here, but after this viaduct, that's when speeds will decrease to 120 kilometers per hour. You may be like, Atharva, that is not high-speed rail. And if you're wondering, that's my name. I just said that's how you actually pronounce it. I know many people pronounce it differently, but oh well, that's how it is. Anyways, this is going to be 120 kilometers per hour south, and it joins the existing line we were at before that was formerly in St. Augustine, but here there's a major express stop, so it would be fine lowering the speed. Now here in downtown Orlando, the line has 15, 16, something like that grade crossings, I decided to just elevate the entire line above the downtown, and the central station will be around here. The existing Amtrak station's further south, but this is closer to the interchange of Route 408 and Route 4 and is in the downtown part of Orlando. After that, the line will continue on its viaduct and go on a grade separated alignment along the existing freight right-of-way. Not to mention, there are also 3 tracks here like there were in southern Jacksonville, so the goods trains do have some space to run. So after this, the next station is South Orlando, and believe it or not, I'm making this an express high-speed stop as well. 2 reasons. One, right to the east is the second busiest airport of Florida, Orlando International Airport. Lots of people fly in here. It's a primary gateway to the central and northern part of Florida. And to the west are all the theme parks. Universal, SeaWorld, Disney, Epcot, MGM, all those places are within 15 minutes of the South Orlando station because it's located right on Route 528 with easy access to Route 4 and Florida's Turnpike. So I think Disney's Magical Express buses could come here, and I know that because I actually went on a trip with my band to the Florida theme parks, and we took a Disney Magical Express bus from the Orlando airport to the hotel. They could do something similar like that to the South Orlando station to serve the high-speed rail traffic of the area. So after South Orlando, the line will continue along the existing right-of-way of train tracks until it reaches Florida's Turnpike just south of Route 417. This is where the line will go back into the median and continue from 250 kilometers per hour. I may have forgotten it, but this is 250 kilometers per hour here to 300 kilometers per hour, and it will continue along the median of Florida's Turnpike. Now this part of Florida's Turnpike, unlike later parts, the median is wide enough to support high-speed rail in the middle. So it will continue until just before the Osceola Service Plaza. It will deviate and follow its own track, and this is where the line goes at 350 kilometers per hour. Now the main environmental implications with this line, as I said, are the environmental impacts, because as we go southeast, this line is traversing through many swamps and farmlands. I don't want to maximize the destruction of this. In fact, I want to probably minimize this. High-speed rail is a beacon of environmental sustainability because electricity, even if it comes from coal, not to mention the increased nuclear or hydro usage of America, but even if it comes from coal, it's much less polluting than a plane or car. So with that said, this line will continue through the marshlands of the central eastern part of Florida at 350 kilometers per hour. It will roughly parallel the Florida's Turnpike and Interstate 95 eventually, right before Port St. Lucie. Now Port St. Lucie, if you remember what Daytona was like, this is also kind of the middle of nowhere. I think building a station with a road connecting towards the main areas here would be vital, obviously, for the station to be used. You don't want a station without any road access, so it'll be a quick 1-mile road connecting Port St. Lucie to Interstate 95 and Florida's Turnpike. It's also close to Fort Pierce, and this entire area here is a population of around 175,000 people. So I think building a stop here is worth it, considering Miami is still around 90 to 100 miles south and Orlando is around 100 miles to the north. After Port St. Lucie, the line will continue away from the coast because that's where it's easily able to be built. And it enters Palm Beach County, continuing relatively straight until it reaches Palm Beach. Now this area here was one of the hardest parts of the build. I was debating, should I go on a more westernly alignment, but that would severely bypass Palm Beach. It would be like a 20-minute drive just to the train station. What I decided to do instead was decrease the speed along these curves to 250 kilometers per hour, but in effect serve bi-regional high speed Palm Beach. Now, Palm Beach is the northern part of the Miami metropolitan area. It already has an Amtrak and Tri-Rail station, but I think that high-speed rail would really benefit the area with the same reasons as before. Lots of businesses, lots of homes, still quite a bit of a distance away from Miami and obviously Orlando by now. So this would be an excellent regional high-speed stop. Also, after Palm Beach, I didn't do this in my proposal, but I think there would be an excellent opportunity to have like some type of commuter rail that stops at a couple more places. So if you like that idea of allowing high-speed commuter rails around 200 to 250 kilometers per hour on this line, you can leave that in the comment section of this Webeo. But I think that is a very good possibility, but I wanted to focus on the high-speed rail aspect now, so I didn't rush with my mouse and put the points in for that just yet. Now at Palm Beach, the line will meet Florida's Turnpike, but here, unlike Interstate 95, Route 4 and the earlier parts of Florida's Turnpike, this part, the median, is not wide enough for a high-speed rail. As you can see here, it's just separated by a simple Jersey barrier. So it's going to be built to the west of the existing alignment. Now here there's a canal. I don't know what really will be done. I think there's enough space between the turnpike and the canal for a high-speed rail line. If not, the worst case is a canal could be underground, or it could be, the high-speed rail rather, could be built on a viaduct above the canal, but I'm worried about the environmental and NIMBY implications of that, so that will be at a later point. This is just a general overview of where the line will go. So just south of Route 98, the line will go on a viaduct to go to the east side, because on the west side there are houses, and I wanted to minimize the destruction of houses along the existing line. Not many will be destroyed. So it will continue now just to the east of Florida's Turnpike alignment. Again now at its speed of 300 kilometers per hour as it continues south closer to Miami. This is, I think now we are entering Broward County just past this line here, and the next station is Hillsboro. Hillsboro is pretty much the epitome of southern Florida suburbia. Lots of homes, lots of new homes rather, lots of business complexes, lots of recreation, golf, lakes, all of that. I think putting a regional stop at Hillsboro is an excellent option. Not to mention, it's only around a 10-minute drive from Deerfield Beach, Pompano Beach. I think it's Pompano. They don't show tildes on Google Earth, but I think it's Pompano. But I think Hillsboro is the best place to put the next stop. Look at how much suburbia is around here. So after Hillsboro, the line will continue south, same idea as before, until right in Coconut Creek, just before Martin Luther King Boulevard. This is where the first of the two tunnels will be built. Now don't get worried, this is not a long tunnel. This is only around 2.3 miles. The purpose of this tunnel is to connect the line with the existing, now it's 2 tracks here again. So this will connect it to the existing freight line, and the freight line from the Cypress Creek Tri-Rail station south will be 3 tracks again. So this is 2.3 miles, but I think the overall cost savings, not to mention that you'll be much closer towards the bigger areas, because don't get me wrong, Fort Lauderdale is one of the bigger cities of the line. So the line will continue along the existing freight and Amtrak alignment, which is now parallel to Interstate 95, and at Route 842, this is where the Fort Lauderdale station is. 842 is also known as, I believe, Broward Boulevard, and this time it's at the existing Amtrak station, very close to the existing downtown. There's another train line here, but that would be too slow, especially for the express high-speed stop, because I was debating about this. You could leave it in the comments if you want this to be an express high-speed stop, but as of now I'm making this regional. Only Orlando, Jacksonville, and later Miami will be the express high-speed stops. The line will continue. Now it's at 250 kilometers per hour. It passes Fort Lauderdale Airport along the existing Tri-Rail and Amtrak alignment. just east of Ives Estates, that's when the line will decrease to 150 kilometers per hour to continue that turn, and continue the turn through the Golden Glades interchange, also known as the interchange between Florida's Turnpike, the Palmetto Expressway, and Interstate 95. It'll exit the existing passenger rail alignment. Now, where does a passenger rail go? It goes to quote-unquote Miami, but it's really right here. It's like a good 15-minute drive from downtown, not to mention in the middle of kind of nowhere. It's somewhat close to the airport, but that's about it. There's no highways in the vicinity of this area at all. So I decided to risk it. And before I go through the risking it, I would also like to see in the comments, do you want the line to end here or go to Miami? Obviously, I wanted it to finish it in Miami, but this will involve quite extensive home destroying, just warning you. So you could leave that in the comments on whether it's worth it or not. Now I think the opportunity cost of not making it going to Miami would be too great when compared to building the line all the way to Miami, but it's up to you. Line will continue now just west of Interstate 95. Now all that will really be destroyed are maybe one or two home lots to the west of Interstate 95 and couple businesses and couple parking lots of businesses. That's it. Now obviously the median's not big enough for a high-speed rail to go in the center, and I don't want an elevated high-speed rail. That would be expensive and it would blind the landscape. So it continues along Interstate 95 until at 79th Street the line will enter a tunnel and go east along the existing train line, now at 60 miles per hour or around 97.5 kilometers per hour. I know my math, so yeah. By the way, I forgot to say it, but 300 kilometers per hour is 187.5 miles per hour, 200 kilometers per hour is 125 miles per hour, and 250 is around 155. I memorized my speed correlations pretty well, not correlations, conversions. I always mess up words, but it's conversions, not correlations. Correlations are relationships. Well, it kind of is a relationship if you think about it, as I believe it's 0.625 times the number of kilometers gives the number of miles, something like that. It's around 5/8, 0.625 if you want a more manageable approximation. So here it's again 3 tracks with freight, grade separated, and it finally enters Miami Government Center. It connects with the Metro Rail and the Metro Mover, and it's actually in the downtown. That's like wow, considering where the existing station is kind of in the middle of nowhere in suburban Dade County. This is actually in the downtown. So that's it. I think this would be an excellent proposal. Don't be surprised if I connect this somehow to the north, whether it's via Atlanta or via eastern South Carolina. But I think this is an excellent start towards America's high-speed rail growth. I finished the Northeast and I finished the connection to the Midwest, so I think the Southeast is the next place to start, and Florida best exemplifies that. Thank you for watching this Webeo. I know it was a bit long, but I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.